I got a winner. I got the Pistons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think this is a team that, continues moving in the right direction. Van Gundy just knows what he's doing.
With Stan Van, baby.
We trust Stan Van. Look, they pick up the big guy, Cameron Barstow. Lots of love for him.
Dude, gotta love Barstow, baby.
But no, Boban, I mean, that's huge. He's an athletic big. His ears can, palm the basketball.
The biggest ears.
He's got a decent shot. I think he'll see a little bit more playing time there. And then you got Ish coming in as a backup point guard, which is wonderful because Spencer Dinwiddie was a dumpster fire.
John Moore's a good stretch, or not stretch four, but he's a good versatile four.
Yeah, no, I think those were all smart picks. And then you got Henry Ellison, one of the least flashy players that I've ever seen come out. But look, he's good.
He is good.
I'm not taking anything away. He's a talented guy. He's good. This Pistons team just keeps getting better. And they're doing it in the right order.
The Pistons with me is kind of like the Jazz of the East, where they were one of the lower teams in the playoff race. I know the Jazz didn't make the playoffs and the Pistons did, but kind of in that same park where they were not a top team in the East or not a bottom team in the East or West, and they just needed those pieces because their team's young and developing. They have already the guys in place like Drummond and Reggie Jackson to kind of take them, and then they just need to add more depth. Yeah, I think that's what that really was.
But the one thing and the huge difference between that Piston to Jazz comparison is that the Pistons are where the Jazz had to come into the playoffs now. The Pistons are in a situation now to take complete control over. We've said it 5 minutes ago. The Heat are probably going to drop out. I got the Hornets dropping out of the playoffs from last year. While these teams drop out, you got teams like the Bucks, the Magic, maybe the Bulls, trying to get into that playoff spot. Well, the Pistons are, fuck it, we're not falling out. We're just going to advance our seeding because we're not going to be the 8th seed. We're going to be a lot higher next season.
I can't wait until we do Eastern Conference playoff predictions because
it's gonna be wild.
I'm just going to fucking ream you out when you say the Hornets are not making the playoffs.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
Hornets are making the playoffs.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
I got 12 teams in the playoffs right now in the East. I can't make up my fucking mind, guys.
The Bucks,
I love it.
Bucks aren't making the playoffs over the Hornets.
I'd put Thon Maker in the playoffs before the
fuck
Hornets.
out of here.
And I hate Thon Maker. You guys know this.
You hate Ben Simmons too.
I
so
don't hate Ben
that's
Simmons.
A good
I don't hate Ben Simmons.
But again, with Detroit, I mean, this is a team that's just trying to get better and better and better and better, and they have. And then in the East, we're talking about playoff teams that are just getting better and better and better. That 7 and 8 team, they're just getting better and better. Another winner for me is the Pacers. Pacers did phenomenal.
They could be the second best team in the East with what they did.
This offseason, it was like all these other things like, oh, that's a smart move. That's a good one. Yeah, I like that one. And it's just like they just kept going. I was like, holy shit!
And
they rolled this roster
over. They took your boy in the draft, Georges Niang.
The thing about Niang, okay, but hold on. The thing about Niang is I gave him so much shit when we saw him at the tournament, but now I'm actually kind of liking him.
You're excited to watch him?
I think it's actually a decent pick. I really like what the Pacers did. Obviously, the Al Jefferson signing you talked about. That's now the killer for the Hornets for some reason. I think Al Jefferson's good. I don't think he's that good.
It helps out the Pacers, hurts the Hornets.
It does. Yeah, it does.
He's a fantastic down-low scorer.
He is.
He really is.
He is. And Jeff Teague I think he will work better in that offense than George Hill. I think George Hill is still good. But I think Jeff Teague will work better in the Pacers system. And I think Thad Young is phenomenal stretch four. I think he could be great on the bench or even starting, whatever they do plan on doing with that. But I think what they've done is fantastic. Obviously in the draft, I thought that was great too. I mean, the firing of Frank Vogel, I didn't think was fantastic. I don't know if Nick McMillan can really truly change this team, but
it's one of those things where the Frank Vogel thing I knew it had to be coming because there were year after year I'm thinking, so okay, when does he get fired? When does it happen? And with bringing in Nate, it's kind of one of those things where it's like we're not going to change philosophies too much. We're just going to upload the man from behind him, next man up. Frank, it wasn't for you. Yeah, it wasn't for you. Here's a guy that we're not going to do major. It's not going to be a revamped overhaul, but it's a new face.
But with the Pacers team, I don't think Nate McMillan's going to bring him to the finals. I think Nate McMillan can work on talent and talent alone. And I think he's got a lot of talent around him, but he's not going to.
The moves they made player-wise is going to make them the second best team in the East. It's not going to be, we got Nate McMillan, now we're going to the finals.
I mean, the thing with him is he has a very poor record in the playoffs. A record of 14-20, a 41% winning percentage. Has only gotten past the first round once. I mean, nothing impresses me with this that much. He's only gotten over 50 wins 3 times, and one of them was with Portland. His highest win percentage was 51 in Portland. That was basically off talent alone there too. I think that Nate McMillan isn't going to be
a stopgap.
it's a stopgap. And I don't think this is going to be making the Pacers that much better. I think that was probably their worst move.
Think about what teams, though, he had to deal with. He had to deal with the Supersonics and then Portland, and it was like his last year in Portland was D. Lillard's first year in Portland. So they basically got rid of him right after Lillard started.
Yeah. Either way, he hasn't had a ton of success in his head coaching career, and we'll see. I mean, this seems like, they're just lobbing it up there for him to knock it out of the park. Mm-hmm. He's got a serious chance to take this team deep in the playoffs. They can compete against the Cavs at the top of the East. And look, they've got depth. They've got a ton of veteran experience now. Their biggest loss is the fact that they lost a couple Hills. That's it.
A couple Hills.
Good way to phrase that way.
Right? But no. They're stacked, and it's pretty much on him to not fuck this up. I'm hoping we see a surprise out of it, kind of like OKC when they switched head coaches. We were all kind of happily surprised by some of the out coaching he did. And look, he's got a chance to prove himself.
And Billy
here.
Donovan was one game away from the finals in his first year?
Well, 3 games because he had 3 chances to win.
Yeah, no, but one win.
One win
away. But yeah,
so Nate McMillan's got a chance to prove himself with a very talented. Very, very talented roster.
Again, I think that he can survive on talent alone, because if you look at that team he had in Portland, you had Brandon Roy who was healthy. You had LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Batum, basically that Portland team that was working on LaMarcus Aldridge and then great guys around him, and then Brandon Roy as well when he's healthy. But the thing with the Pacers is I think they can challenge for the number 2 seed. I think they will be held a little bit back. I think the Raptors are still the second best team, but still, I mean, going from 7 to the top 3 or top 4, wherever you want to put them, I think that is definitely going to help them.
As long as LeBron's on the Cavs, they've got the number 1. It's going to be a dogfight for the number 2 between the Raptors and the Pacers. Celtics right behind them at 4.
I think Celtics will be mixed in there, but I think also the Celtics had a good, had a decent off season.
We're getting in touchy area here.
All right, let's do in that touchy area though, because all right, obviously Jaylen Brown. They should have traded the pick. We obviously agree there, or they should have went with Chris Dunn. I think that was that is what they should have done. But Jaylen Brown, again, I think that there's potential there. Yep. Obviously, we talked about the potential.
Yeah, he wasn't dropped top 3 for nothing. I mean, it's just the fact that look, very talented. He's a very raw prospect. He's got a long way to grow his game. So,
and you're working with Brad Simmons.
Brad Stevens. Even I know that name. I'm awful with names.
Brad Stevens. Why did I say Brad Simmons?
Because you're thinking of Bill Simmons. That's who you're thinking of. I am. Boston, Bill Simmons. It's all mixing up in the head.
Working with Brad Stevens. And then also he's kind of filling that Evan Turner role where a guy who can kind of run the offense, not going to really run the offense in this first year, but a guy who makes his money driving to the hole, going to the free throw line. I think he's gonna work off that, and he has enough athleticism not to fall behind on that team. Obviously, bringing in Al Horford, I think that was a fantastic move for them. It wasn't the move they truly needed, but it was definitely a move that it does not hurt their team.
It sets them up for next year even better. I mean, this year they're going to compete for top of the East, and next year they still have the money to go out there and drop cash and get a top of the line free agent.
Exactly, and the thing is who'd they lose? I mean, they lost Evan Turner again, who they kind of filled with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's just younger, and they lost Jaron Sullinger, who was basically eating his weight in McDonald's and couldn't stay healthy. Healthy, but he couldn't stay in shape. So
couldn't stay on the court long enough either.
It just was not a fit there. So you didn't really lose anyone. You brought in Al Horford. You brought in Jaylen Brown, who has massive potential. You have Yabusele, who obviously has a lot of potential and will be playing overseas. Zizic was good as well. Has a lot of potential there. And you got 2 guys, and Demetrius Jackson could step in. And if you need him to play this year, he can play. And I don't think he will even fall behind too much. And he did pretty decent in the summer league. You got Ben Benzo, who kind of sucked in the summer league.
But you love Ben Benzo.
But I love it.
We'll see him in the D League.
Exactly. We'll see him in the D League. And I just think that this team did not get worse. They're just going to improve their team again with bringing in Al Horford. And I think that they put them in a spot where they are a top 4 team in the East as long as they stay healthy.
They're in the middle to me. Not a winner, not a loser. And the reason why is let's see how Jaylen Brown develops. If he flat out flails, he's a loser. If he succeeds, they're a winner.
But then again, you didn't lose anyone. With your team still got better.
And that's why for me they're a gray area.
I didn't love the picks, I'll be honest with you. The Celtics draft strategy, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I know they've got a lot of people on that roster who they like, so they didn't want to overload them. That's why they picked up a couple guys who have no problem staying overseas. Mm-hmm. And some of the later draft picks where it's like, he was a solid college player. Let's see, we can try him out. I feel like they could have made a way bigger splash with their early drafts, at least the first 3. Like, there's so many guys. I was like, oh, if he fell to the Celtics, he could be great. Oh, they didn't take him.
They could have taken Ellison instead of Yabusele at 16.
But I think I agree with Dave, and I think that was the right choice. They had two guys who obviously have potential, and we'll have to work that out overseas.
Yeah.
But you have a playoff team already.
They don't want to tweak it too much.
Yeah,
I
and
can
why
respect
add more young or youth to that team where they're not going to be playing and just be stalling? So I like what the Celtics did with those last 2. I think it was the first one that was the big question mark where you could have possibly went out and traded for somebody, or you could have drafted Chris Dunn. And I know that Isaiah Thomas is there, but still, I mean, Chris Dunn, it looks like the better player.
Chris fucking Dunn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. At the end of the
Chris
day.
Dunn backing up Isaiah Thomas is a pretty good 1-2 combo.
And they passed up, to me, I'm looking at it now, they passed up a few, and I wonder if they passed up these point guards because of Isaiah Thomas. Could have taken Chris Dunn at 3, that's 1. Could have taken Wade Baldwin at 16, and no matter what you think about Wade Baldwin, still pretty good point guard.
Or that guy who fell
overall.
down to the Spurs, way down there. A little DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray could have taken him. They could have taken Kay Felder instead of Ben Bentil at 51.
Well, that's like taking Isaiah all
and
over
then,
again.
I mean, they ended up taking Demetrius Jackson, so they did kind of... They hit that need, but it was, for me, more of the Chris Dunn and the Baldwin. You obviously passed on those guys because you didn't want to upset Isaiah.
Okay, no, not at all. Demetrius Jackson's going to be a backup point guard, and that's what you needed. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is your starting point guard. Kay Felder's not going to step in and be better than...
No, I'm not saying... That's why I said
but you
more
could
of
put them
Baldwin
next to each other
Dunn.
and have that, sub-6 foot backcourt elite.
Demetrius Jackson was a better pick than Kay Felder there, and I don't know why you're so high on Kay Felder. Is he a good scorer?
No.
Yes. But
listen to me. I said more of Chris Dunn and Wade Baldwin were the main 2. Maybe even throw in
Baldwin's not a good leader. Again, we have
I'm saying
we have differing opinions there.
As a guy you could have drafted, I would have taken Wade Baldwin over Yabusele to be the back. If you're looking at me saying DJ, Kay Felder, or Wade Baldwin to be my backup behind Isaiah, I'd take Baldwin.
But that's a guy who has leadership problems, who has some character issues, and probably doesn't want to be a backup, and will be a backup to Mike Conley. But then again, I see him somehow moving or wanting to move and not being an efficient player there in Memphis. I think you obviously didn't need a point guard. You have Isaiah Thomas. You have Marcus Smart to back him up as a defensive side or as a defensive relief there. But you needed a big man. You obviously went out and got Al Horford there. Yabusele and Zizek will be there as backups and to play power forward too when they finally come up. And Zizek will be more of a center, but still.
When the time's right, they've got the guys to pull in.
Yeah, and you could flip Horford to power forward if you want to play Zizek and Horford at the same time. He would love to
not play center.
Yeah,
he's talked about it a ton, but it's the way the rest of the roster goes. Like, he has no problem, and that's why he's a great guy to have on your team. He's willing to go out there, sacrifice his own numbers, his own body a little bit more, because you're telling me he wouldn't have better numbers playing power forward, being a little bit further away from that basket, doesn't get banged up all night, doesn't... There's a lot of wear and tear on the body of a center.
What they really needed was to trade that number 3 pick and get Jimmy Butler, but it didn't happen.
They didn't, but then again...
I'm not saying
no,
we should
I
give
just
them
want to
up,
go to
Dave,
that conversation.
Yeah,
but that's what they needed. They needed a star.
They didn't, all right? They didn't. They got Al Horford, and they're going to look for a star next year. But then again, if you look at this team, they were still a playoff team. They still got better. They didn't lose that much. And then Jaylen Brown, they hope that he can come in off the bench and drive to the basket and basically do what Evan Turner did in a smaller role, in a diminished role. But still, they didn't get worse as a team. Right. And Jaylen Brown obviously has a lot of potential. And if that potential hits, then it's going to be fantastic. I think they're a winner even if he doesn't hit, because you have so many chances of a player hitting in that draft that's all that matters. And then you bring in a guy like Al Horford. You didn't get worse as a team. You got better, and you pushed yourself into a better positioning. And again, that's what winners and losers means for the offseason. They could have done more. I don't agree. I don't disagree with you there. Obviously, they could have done more. But then again, you could have drafted Chris Dunn, and Chris Dunn looking like the better prospect right now. But then again, we haven't seen what Jaylen Brown can do. Exactly.
I'm going to drop a bomb and say, the Bulls had a shit offseason.
No, yeah, I could see it. There's a few diamonds there.
I don't get the playoff talk.
There's a few diamonds. We can get the 8th seed maybe. Just give me some hope.
There's 12 teams in the West or in the East that could compete for that. So fair enough. But I feel like they shit the bed. They came out there like, oh, this is our plan going forward. We're gonna get younger. We're gonna rebuild around Jimmy, and they go out and they get a bunch of aging veterans. Because,
however, it's one of those things where
compete.
I could see us as a loser, but I'm not I'm not mad about it, because I've been saying this forever. I like Denzel moving forward.
Denzel's a great pick.
Draft pick.
Great pick.
However, when you look at the old guys, yeah, D-Wade's going to be around for 2 years. Yeah, we may have overpaid for him, but you know what? I'm going to support the Bulls, and I'm going to love seeing him in a Bulls uniform. Rajon Rondo, I've said it before, I'll say it again, he's not going to be here past this year. Look at how they put together that contract. They put most of the money in that first year
set them up to
get rid of him.
It doesn't.
How does this set them up to win? Okay. How does this set them up for the future?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
For the future, it's one of those things where you can kind of say, if you wanted to, you could say the same thing about Pat Riley. Oh, we're all setting it up for next year.
Like, this is a move.
We're all setting it up for next year, and we weren't going to win anything this year anyways. We've got the
but your
Cavaliers,
future didn't get better.
The Raptors.
Yeah. Like, these are moves I would expect, like, the Mavs to do. Build up around, you go out there, they try to repeat the magic that happened with Dirk the last time. They gave him a ton of aging veterans who are all coming off good seasons. And they, guess what? They took it deep in the playoffs. They got a championship off of it. They did this around a Jimmy Butler, who's still in his prime, who's 27. Like, are you kidding me right now?
This isn't like a Dirk where this is his last years of stardom. This is a guy who could be your center
5 years
point
of
for
being a stud, an absolute stud in the NBA before he starts to see a drop off.
You still got 5 years, and what you do is you bring in a guy like D Wade who can't shoot the three. You bring in a guy like Rajon Rondo who cannot shoot the three. I mean, these guys all make their living driving to the basket, even with Jimmy. I mean, this offense is gonna be a fucking mess.
Maybe because I'm a Bulls fan. I'm sitting here saying, on paper, was it the best offseason? No. But I'm sitting here going, let me wait and see. Let me see them play some games.
I'm going to enjoy watching them play, but I think they had a shit offseason.
Again,
no, I know.
I said
that's what I'm saying. That they're losers, but it's one of those things where it's like before, and this is mostly for I'm going to throw Mike Rankin in this because he's the Chicago guy that talks about all our Chicago stuff. For the ones that are just throwing everyone out, like this season is garbage now. Let me see them play before we rag on everybody.
I disagree. I mean,
like
we're ragging on teams
Gar
right
Forman
now
because the biggest mistake was not getting rid of Paul at the trade deadline. That's what set most of this up. Should have traded him at the trade deadline. I'm glad we got rid of D Rose. Noah's a casualty where it's like, yeah, okay, I can see why it's a good thing for him to be gone now. And it's more about I like Denzel. I like having a veteran like D-Wade on the team. Rondo's kind of But this team, am I expecting a finals appearance? No. So, I mean, I'm not that upset about the bad offseason.
You made two good moves. You drafted Denzel and you traded Derrick Rose. You got the old guard out in Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, but then you brought in a different old guard in a different old brand of people in Rajon Rondo.
We also
and
brought
Dwayne
in
Wade.
Rolo. That was a nice move.
Again, the trade was nice.
It was a nice move.
I'm not saying the trade was bad. The trade was a good idea. Get Derrick Rose in. Get out of that old Bulls mentality. But you're just bringing in more old. You're just bringing in guys who are living in the past. Rajon Rondo, yes, he's still a good passer. He's still got good court vision. He's still a decent player, but he's not going to bring you a championship. Dwayne Wade, obviously in the twilight of his career, but can still put up points, but he's not going to bring you to a championship.
But were we expecting championship this year?
You were expecting this team to build for the future. This is not building for the future.
Year. Yeah,
this is
I was
not
expecting here's your 25 to 32, 33 win season. And just go out there and get themselves a good draft.
I'm not saying they had the worst. I'm not saying they had the worst offseason, but I'm not saying they had near the best or even probably top 20. I think they're definitely in the bottom of worst offseasons for the NBA. I mean I get your optimism or I get.
Well, I just want to see what these guys can do under Hoiberg.
I want to see, but I'm pissed off because there's no plan for the future. I feel like they're going to waste a year of Jimmy's prime because if you can't compete for a championship, you should be working to compete for a championship down the road.
This is the way I see it. Last year was the hostile takeover of we just got to get Rose out of here, make sure it's Jimmy's team. This is going to be, this is what it should have been last year if we didn't have a cancerous locker room between the Jimmy, Derrick Rose fighting over for whose team it is. And then it'll start to get better. That's what I'm thinking towards the future.
But the thing is about this whole thing is how'd you improve your team? And you got rid of an old guard, or you got rid of the old past of Bull past, and you just brought in someone else. But that didn't make your team any better. And if you look for the future,
but it's a 1 year. The Rondo thing.
But it's a 1 year of
stopgap.
It's one more year of the Bulls being a bad team. It's one more year of the Bulls struggling. It's one more year of the Bulls not being a playoff team. It's one more year of the Bulls not going deep in the playoffs.
But when you look at it, we had the money to spend.
It's a step back.
Would you rather have kept the money and let Jerry and Grant be your starter this year? Or
God,
at the
no.
time, Jose Calderon? No. Throw some money at Rondo because that's the whole reason why we were able to get D-Wade and Rondo in the first place is because of the max money that we were getting, the funny money as I called it, from this last agreement and the inflating of money. That's why we were able to do it. So why not go out there and get a Rondo for a year?
Okay, Rondo for a year isn't bad, but then again, it's not helping your team. It's fine for a stopgap. It's fine for something, but either
And
it's,
like I
it's
said,
all
we
or
weren't
nothing.
expecting
Ricky.
to win a championship. If we make the
but this
eighth
is-
seed,
okay.
if we make the eighth seed, that's like going to the championship for me this year.
Okay, but that's also going to hold your team back because you're not getting a high enough draft pick. You're getting a middle of the road draft pick for a guy that either can be a Denzel Valentine who has question marks and falls because of injuries, or it's a guy who's very young, or it's an overseas player that's just going to take more time to develop, more time to
The
get
problem
there.
is we don't see a payoff coming.
There's
good-
no payoff
Well, good
coming.
thing the
Yeah.
Kings got Papa John's because they're going to be outside of that top 10 and we're going to get their pick.
Yep. And with the Bulls, I mean, the thing with the Bulls is one final thing, so we can get off the Bulls. I didn't know we were going to talk about
I had
the
to
Bulls.
do
for
it.
this
I
long.
had-
For
to
once,
throw it.
I didn't bring them up.
No, I know.
You didn't. But the thing with it is just they're holding themselves back. They're holding. You talked about this with the LA talk about how with big markets you need a team that's winning, a team that's going somewhere.